like to start call to order this Brown Deer School District meeting to order at 6:04 p.m. Verification of a public notice. This meeting has been publicly noticed. Verification of a quorum. We do have all 7 board members in attendance this evening. Approval of the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Dr. Beater, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you very much, Nicole. The motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Dr. Beater, I'll second.
Okay. All right. Motion has been made and seconded. Any conversation? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and/or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. And let's go on to our mission statement. Together with our families and community, we will inspire students to be passionate learners, creative thinkers, and innovative leaders who enrich our world. All right, let's go on now. And just for everybody to understand that for this evening, this is not a meeting tonight for public comments. So there will not be any public comments. Anybody that is actually on, could you please mute your microphones so not to disturb the meeting while it's in progress. And we greatly appreciate it. All right, let's go on to our first item of business, facilities and ground report. Ms. Smitska.
Good evening. I was just looking at the agenda and I didn't see this on there. So, but I'm happy to give my report. I have it prepared. There has been a lot going on over the last month, including a number of safety committee items. We have completed the emergency operations plan, and now it is in the first stage of approval. So right now we are working with the Brown Deer Police Department, who will then forward it over to the Milwaukee Sheriff's Department, and then we will bring it to you in closed session to answer any questions that you may have about that document. So that's been a big source of my time over the last couple of months. Also, we have completed the Speak Up, Speak Out training. And again, that's a tool that's really helpful to kids, if our students, our scholars, if they need to report anything and they just don't feel comfortable doing it. It's an anonymous tip line. So the building administrators, as well as myself and Tammy and Officer Oleg, all took part in that training, which is great. It's an asset for our school. I also met with the Park and Rec director last week to establish what programming we're going to be hosting here at the school over the summer. And it looks like we'll have most of the same programming that we have pre-COVID. So we'll have the tennis program, we will have swim lessons, we will have summer playground. We might even throw in some rock wall if we have enough interest in it. So it's a really good, transition with the new director. We're trying to make some efficiencies in that process as well. Finally, the only other thing that I'll bring to you, because you've all received this lengthy report for the last month, but we were able to host our first recess rodeo at the elementary school. The kids loved it. They were very engaged. It was an awesome opportunity for them to really learn how to play on those structures. It's not something that necessarily comes naturally. And so just reminding the students of the rules to make sure that their shoes are tied at all times, that they're just making good choices on the equipment. So special thanks to the health offices, to Nurse Farrington, to the health students from Concordia. They really pulled a lot of weight on that project, and we're happy that it was as successful as it was. Are there any questions I can answer? I kind of breezed through my report, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Board members, any questions for Jody? Ms. Robinson?
I do have a question about something that was mentioned in your report that happened on February 5th. Did you communicate that to us before?
Something that happened on February 5th?
Yeah, it's in your second.
So there was, are you speaking about the, Oh, that was the situation in the apartments, where,
Oh, okay,
yes,
okay, okay.
sorry, yep. I should have been a little bit more clear with that, but yep, that was the event in the apartments that happened on, I believe a Saturday. And yep,
Okay. All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
All right. Any other questions? Any other questions for Jody? And thank you for posting the video for us to be able to see the video of the kids and being able to do that. That was pretty nice.
That was all Nurse Farrington.
All right. Good job. Good job. All right. Let's go on to our next item of business, our business office update. Mr. Klimick.
Good evening, members of the board. I don't have anything specific to report on the business office report other than the rest of the items in this part of the agenda, but I will just remind you, I did send it as part of your weekly update email that you received, but the POD system or the provisions on demand for the North Commons is in production right now. We're very excited about that after a long delay. So we expect to see that later this summer, and it'll be a nice enhancement to our food service in the North Commons next year. So we're excited. Other than that, then we can move on to the other agenda items. So the next one, approval of new hires. I'm happy to report there are no new hires to approve, and then approval of resignations. I'm also happy to report there are no resignations to approve.
All right. Wait, hold on. Wait, let's do this. With that being said, Kevin, one more time, say both of those again one more time.
No, well, we have no new hires. We do have some open positions, but we have no hires this week, but we also have no resignations. So we have a very static employment where we're very excited.
I'll take it. I'll take it. All right. All right. So our next item then is our discussion of our $1 million debit defeasance. Mr. Klimick.
Yes, this item is something we've talked about. It was something that the board started a year ago when you or that board decided to over levy $400,000 in the debt service in the 2020-2021 school year. And then this year for 2021-22, we did the same thing. This time we over levied $600,000. With the transition in business managers, we did not actually do anything with the money that we captured last year. So I'm now working with Baird to complete that process. So we're looking at a $1 million debt defeasance. And so just to clarify briefly, we're not technically prepaying debt ourselves, but what we're doing is we are giving this money to a bank who is taking ownership of a certain number of bonds that we have, and they will continue to pay interest, and they will pay off the bonds when the bonds come due in 2038, I believe, is the year. And so, but for all intents and purposes for us, they're off our books. We no longer pay interest on it. And so as part of the report that you were provided from Baird, they did the second page, there's kind of the illustration of the cash defeasance and shows you how that particular bond, it's going to be tied to the $15.9 million bond that we did as part of the 2018 referendum. And so the total, there are some costs involved of about $15,000. And so the total cost, the total amount that will go into escrow will be $980,000. And that will provide us with a net savings of interest over the life of the bond. And this is an estimate, so we won't know officially until we actually go through the transaction, which we'll do after the board approves it in 2 weeks. But right now they're estimating $462,000 in savings. So really tonight, you don't have to approve anything. I was just updating you on where we're at, and because the board over levied for this, I'm assuming you want to proceed with it. And if that's the case, then in 2 weeks, I will bring you a resolution from Baird that you'll vote on, and then that will start the process of actually of doing the defeasance. And then, like I said, within a couple weeks in April, that debt will be considered to be off of our books.
All right. Questions for Kevin in relationship to our $1 million debit defeasance? I know when we started this process, and I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Linsky.
Sorry, I can't get at my notes at the minute. $1 million was the same number as from
Lisa, I think you're really gurgly right now. See if you can turn your mic up, maybe.
I'm having audio problems with this device. Forget it. I'll talk later. Those were not working yet. Okay, I think there's something with this device. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you're not sitting there waiting.
Well, no, we'll wait. We'll definitely wait for the question.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Better.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, sorry, Kevin. $1 million was the same number that we had talked about that when the board originally approved this plan, correct?
Yes, it was $600,000 this year. $400,000 was the fees last year. So a total of $1 million.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. You remember when we had started doing the process, it was actually broken up into 2 different increments to be able to get that done. And that's how we ended up with the $1 million. Okay. All right. Any other questions for Kevin? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Klimick. Good
If
job
not,
with
yep.
that.
All right, we'll move forward and you'll have a resolution in 2 weeks. So.
All right. Thank you very much. Now let's go on to our item 2F, discussion and approval of the transportation contract extension with Go Right Way. Mr. Klimick.
Okay, and this has been a process we've gone through this year. As I mentioned before, real briefly, we're in the final year of our contract with Go Right Way for transportation. It's obviously a very challenging time for a number of industries, and school transportation is certainly one of them. And so based on our long history of working with the Right Way for the last 10 years, we felt that in this particular environment, it was worth considering working with them on a contract extension for a few more years. So before you tonight, and we've had these conversations before, I have a 3-year contract extension in front of you. This year, we are looking at a 7% rate increase, or for next year, this is for 22-23. It would be the first year. We are looking at a 7% increase in the rate cost. The Here Comes the Bus app, which we successfully implemented this year, does have a per route cost for that as well. And then one of the other parts of the contract does change the formula for the fuel surcharge. And obviously, at a time like this, that's more helpful than we need. Hopefully, fuel is not staying like this for very long, but we obviously have hit some record levels right now. So based on this, I've shared with you kind of what our estimate is of the cost will be. Again, the number of routes we use and that we'll be talking, and the surcharge is certainly, or how much fuel surcharge will be dependent on that time of the year. But we think it's a reasonable amount that we can absorb in next year's budget. So we'll be planning for that. So and tonight we have with us Nate Hamilton. Nate's actually here in our presence physically. He's the Vice President of Operations for Go Right Way and is here to answer any questions that the board may have.
Board members, questions for Mr. Hamilton and or Mr. Klimick? All right, I do have a question, Mr. Hamilton. Okay, so now we're looking at a 7% increase for these. Would that be for the 2022, 2023, Kevin?
Correct. Yes.
All
correct.
right. Now, with that being said, would it be frozen at the 7% for the next 3 years for this next contract, or would it be 7% this year, the upcoming year, and then it'll go up percentages the subsequent years?
No, I'll answer that. It's in the contract. We're using a 3-month average of October, November, and December, the CPI. So we will be looking at CPI increases for the second and third year of the contract. So again, depending on where CPI is at, we're certainly all hopeful that the environment we're in right now is temporary and things will start to drop, but it does provide Right Way with an opportunity to, because they're seeing cost increases just like we are, and this gives them an opportunity to help address their costs at the same time. So we're looking at instead of picking 1 month, we did a 3-month average, but we'll be looking at that formula for the second and third year of the contract.
Any other questions in relationship to this Go Right Way transportation contract? All right, seeing and hearing none, would someone like to be able to make a motion to approve the Go Right Way contract as presented?
Dr. Beadle, I make a motion to approve the 2025 student transportation contract extension with Go Right Way as presented.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ashley. A motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second Dr. Beadle.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. Mr. Hamilton, that has been approved. Kevin, thanks for all of the hard work that you and your team have done in putting this thing together. Mr. Hamilton, let Right Way know that we're committed to making sure that we have quality service and we like to be fair. So.
Yep. And I just want to thank the school district of Brown Deer for their continued partnership. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, Nate.
All right, let's go on now to our next item, our summer school, Brown Deer Elementary and Middle High School engaged learners. Dr. Garrison.
Yes, members of the board, we will have summer schools, actually summer learning this summer. Those dates are to be followed June 13th through July 15th. Just last year, we have ran a summer school opportunity here in the Brown Deer School District for our students, both elementary, middle, and high school opportunities. Registration for summer school will begin March the 11th. And there will be information that will be shared with all of our families, just as we did last year, letting them know what they need to exactly do to register for our summer school opportunities. Similar to last year, we want all of our teachers that are currently in our district to also participate in our summer school. But with that being said, we also would like to use our curriculum that we've been using all year to continue the learning that our students have had throughout our school year. In the elementary school, we are solidifying our elementary principles, and the middle and high school, we have already done so as well. And so with that being said, I just want to make sure I reiterate those dates. We will have summer school starting June 13th through July 15th. There's always that 1 week off that we have the first week in July, and then registration will begin March the 11th, 2022.
All right. Questions for Dr. Garrison? I guess I got a question. Dr. Garrison, for incoming students, and again, this might sound strange, but for our K-4 students that are getting ready to go into our K-5 program, are they able to go to our summer program?
At the current time, they are. There'll be incoming, no, I'm sorry, they wouldn't be because they haven't started ours. Well, you said they were a part of our 4K program?
Yeah, they're part of our K-4 program, and then they're getting ready to go into K-5 the following year. Would they be eligible to do summer school or the summer session?
Yes, we do have kindergarten offerings in our district. We don't have, of course, 7 sections of kindergarten, but we do have kindergarten opportunities for summer school.
Okay, thank you, because I know that would probably be a question that some of our parents may have, especially having those K-4 students and wondering would that be an option for them for the summer for their students to be engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Board members, any other questions for Dr. Garrison? All right, thank you. Let's go on now to our engaged and innovative staff, our COVID-19 mitigation protocols, Dr. Kelsey Brown and Nurse Farrington.
Good evening, board members and members of the community. I believe this is the moment everyone has been waiting for as we try and do some semblance of off-ramping in terms of the mitigation protocols we have employed in our school district since March 13th, 2020. So while we realize that there is a decrease in the numbers, what we also need to continue to be mindful of in accordance with Chief Medical Officer from Children's Hospital is while we're trying to look for some sense of normalcy, COVID is not gone. So we just want to be mindful of how we continue to navigate this experience as we continue to move forward. We met with our staff yesterday in both buildings district-wide to inform them of where we will be headed with lifting some of our mitigation protocols, if you will. So as far as facial coverings are concerned, effective March 14th, facial coverings in our district will be optional, however, highly recommended. And so the premise, and this is per the new CDC guidelines for students in grades kindergarten through 12th grade. This also applies to Brown Deer employees district-wide. This also includes buses and field trips, unless the company or school we are visiting has a different stance. So if we go to a different location and they have a different stance, we will adhere to what they are asking us to do to continue to have a great experience for our students. And this also includes all after-school activities. Facial coverings in a school building will be required, be required if COVID positive cases reach 5%, or if staffing the building becomes an issue on a consistent basis. As we know, we all experienced that with the uptick in COVID cases last November at the elementary school. As far as social distancing is concerned, social distancing will be implemented to the greatest extent possible. Symptomatic students, parents, as we have always asked parents to keep, prior to COVID, we've always asked our parents to keep your children at home if they are sick. And so we will continue to employ that strategy, whether we believe it's COVID related or not. Contact tracing. Again, effective March 14, 2022, contact tracing will cease unless a building reaches the 5% threshold. I would like for us all to be mindful of the fact that the 5% threshold could be fluid, because we know there's an ebb and flow to the number of students who are in our buildings on any given day. As we know, students come and go. But with that being said, at the time that this executive summary was written, we had 738 students at the elementary school, which means when 36 students in our buildings are COVID positive, we will go back to facial coverings, everyone wearing a facial covering. That would be 19 students at the middle school and 29 students at the high school. Again, those numbers can fluctuate because we know kids come and go all year long. So those numbers were based on enrollment as of March 3rd, according to our registrar. So if we reach the 5% threshold, we will reintroduce reintroduce contact tracing. Parents will be notified and will be able to make the determination as it relates to whether or not they will send their students to school, provided that the students are asymptomatic and do not have any COVID symptoms. In the event that 5% of students in a particular building test positive within a 5-day window, again, masks will be required for all students for a 10-day period. So I want to make sure we stress our intentions were never to return our students to virtual, although we had to do it this year. But the goal moving forward will be to continue to keep our students in in-person learning. But in the event that we reach this threshold, we will return to everyone wearing a facial covering in the buildings. And kudos to Mr. Clemick and the Business Services Office for keeping boxes of facial coverings in the district to make sure we can make sure that happens. So once we understand how this will play itself out, our goal is to have our parents be able to return to our buildings. We expect to fully open our doors to everyone beginning fourth quarter. So fourth quarter begins April 4th, 2022. In the event that a positive case is noted in any particular classroom, parents will receive a courtesy letter to let them know a positive case has been noted in the classroom. And again, the parents can make the determination, provided that the child is not symptomatic, to send our student to school or keep them at home. We will continue to highly recommend testing when COVID-like symptoms are apparent. Testing continues to be available to our staff at least one day a week, with our continued partnership with COVID Health Connections with Erica Sinclair. What we should also make note of is in light of the fact that COVID cases have decreased over time, we are also noticing that the number of individuals who are testing is also decreasing as well. But we will continue to avail that service to our staff provided that there's a need for it as we continue to move forward. As far as vaccination clinics are concerned, we will host our third vaccination clinic on March 12th, this Saturday, at the elementary school in the Deb Kerr Community Room from between the hours of 10 to 2. So if anyone from the community or even outside the community would like to avail themselves to this service, please feel free to spread the word. And it has also been placed on social media. In the event that we have students who might need to be quarantined, please be mindful of the fact we continue to offer breakfast and lunch packages at the Novak Family Fieldhouse between the hours of 7:30 and 10:30, right there at the front door. We will continue to employ our COVID checklist so that we can keep a good handle on our staff who may become COVID positive, so that we can be responsive to our staff. And then we will continue to move forward with keeping the district COVID dashboard as up to date as we possibly can, given the information that we do receive. The North Shore Health Department continues to ask that when we are made aware of COVID cases in our buildings, that we make them aware so that they can continue to be mindful of what's happening in the community as far as COVID is concerned. With that, COVID numbers decreasing hopefully is a guiding light for us to keep our students in in-person learning while we cautiously lift the mitigation protocols, but be mindful of the fact that COVID is not gone yet. And what we're hearing is something that we will have to figure out how to live through. And so those are our off-ramping, if you will, as far as mitigation protocols are concerned. And just one point of clarity to add is, as we notified our staff on yesterday of where we were going in this process, we also wanted to give our staff some days to be able to figure out what they would need to do in between now and Monday, if there are any accommodations that they would need for us to make to ensure that we can continue in-person learning right here in our amazing school district. And so those are our this is where we're trying to go with the mitigation protocols. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer.
All right, questions for Dr. Kelsey Brown. I'm quite sure there are a few.
I have a question. How did the teachers respond to you when you communicated that this is the direction we're going?
It was very favorable. So the first time that yesterday was not the first time they heard the conversation. I actually reached out to Mrs. Albers from BDEA, and she has been having conversations with teachers along the way to get a feel for where they are or what their thinking was around this. And it was favorable. We didn't receive, I received a phone call from one teacher, and that was it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Ms. Smith, oops.
Going back to the staff accommodations, what would some of those look like? Would staff members be able to, if someone with an immunocompromised system, would they be able to request that students wear masks in their classroom? Just what would that look like?
So let me say other area superintendents, it really is at the discretion of, we're asking our staff to reach out to their doctors first. So the doctors help them understand what that accommodation could look like. We have myself and the building administrator, where the particular teacher called me from, we are trying to work something out. And that was part of the conversation, Ms. Smith. I just not sure what that could look like yet.
Okay, well, just in whatever you all sort out, just it would be helpful if you, for that teacher or for that parent, that the district take it, or the administrator contact parents, just so that teacher wouldn't, have to feel that they were fighting through to gain that accommodation, and so that we could support them. Parents could support from home, saying, okay, if it is that this teacher needs you to wear your mask, then we can say, you know what, give a little talk to the kids. Mm-hmm. Just the communication piece there. I wouldn't want it to be all on that teacher.
Correct, absolutely. I completely agree. Thank you. And I'm waiting to hear back from the teacher, just so you're aware. So, but thank you.
Right, I think Nicole was first and then Anita.
Dr. Brown, just wondering if there has been anything put in place or any kind of discussion with teachers as far as when this change occurs on Monday, talking with students and kind of educating them on respecting one another's choices. So you choose to not wear a mask, I choose to wear a mask, so that we don't have potential conflicts amongst the students and what they're choosing to do. Is there anything that's going to take place maybe Friday afternoon, Monday morning, just to kind of talk to them about that? Yes, principals will create videos that they send out to all their teachers for the kids to review the video. We're also going to remove all the facial covering signs that we have in our buildings, put up signs that says mask optional, kindness required, and kindness required, and just be respectful of whatever individuals choose to do. So mask optional, we talked about the bullying or the shaming that could be associated with it. So we will be proactive in that manner. Great question. Thank you, Ms. Zick.
Ms. Zick, I also like to just note that I know we are making this pivot here in our school districts, but we also still need to understand that when our students leave our spaces, especially when they go outside or they go back into the public, the masks are down. And I can speak to just from our campus perspective. I know when we see students going off to lunch, if they're seniors, getting in cars, I think there is a natural, they know when to take their mask down. Now that we're having to shift back to our school building, I think it would be natural for some students. But again, if some students would like to keep their mask up, that's perfectly fine as well. I don't want what we don't want to do is, again, polarize either decision, mask off or mask on, but we definitely want to make sure that people do know that in their public spaces or even in their own homes, masks are more than likely, based off of their home environment, are down.
All right, Ms. Peterson?
Yeah, my question was as it relates to the social distancing. I think we said that it will be implemented to the greatest extent possible. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Are we completely doing away with the 3 feet social distancing? Can you talk a little bit, as much as you would know at this point, about that?
Mhm. And we've been social distancing to the greatest extent possible all year, but you will find teachers. Well, let me say it this way. So classroom size, right? The square footage of your classroom is really what we have to take into consideration when we're talking about social distancing. But what I can say is what you will see in some of the larger classrooms for some of our staff who are mindful of and want to be responsive to social distancing, they will spread the students throughout the classroom. So you will see it on a classroom by classroom basis. In some classrooms and in others, not so much, especially with the younger children, as come in and watch a 4-year-old, ask a 4-year-old social distance to see what we might get from that one. Because we're all social beings and we understand that, but it varies and has varied from classroom to classroom.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I just have one other quick question in terms of your relationship with Health Connections. So I know you said that you were going to continue to have them come in once a week, correct? Is that going to be until the end of the school year, or are you just going to take it, kind of take a look at the numbers and maybe pull back from having them at all? Or what would be your stance with the continuation of that service?
That's a great question, Felita. I've not had that conversation with Erica just yet. Sharonda, are you on this evening? I thought I saw you pop on.
I am on here. I did not catch the question though.
The question is regarding testing, the weekly testing. How long will we employ that particular strategy as we watch numbers decrease over time? Essentially, one could argue that there isn't a need for it anymore because people are not going to avail themselves to that, to testing. And so the question is, have you had a conversation with Erica from Health Connections about that yet?
Yes, I had a conversation with her today about that. We are going to continue the weekly testing right now. And especially as we are trying to work with her to be able to do our own point of care testing on campus. So that is going to continue for now. I could see the only way that it would not continue is if it was maybe for a week or two, but that's going to be standing.
So the follow-up question to that in terms of point of care, is she in a position to share and train staff to do, kind of testing if administration avails themselves to the offer of training in the event that she can't come, or you might have a situation where you might want to administer a test?
Yes, and that's what we are working through right now, which is you need a CLIA waiver to be able to do that. And so with that, she would work with me to basically train the health staff. We wouldn't go far beyond that staff to be able to do that. It's not a very quick process to get that on campus, but we are working through that because we don't know where COVID is going right now. And we want to make sure that Brown Deer has everything that we need in terms of testing our staff and students.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? No? Okay. Let's go on to our next item, discussion of our K4, K5 through K5 through 12 draft instructional calendar. Dr. Garrison and Mr. Fleming.
Yes, and so members of the board, one second, sorry. Members of the board, we have been working diligently to update our instructional calendar, to rethink instructional delivery, to maximize student achievement here in the Brown Deer School District. We have taken input from teachers and of course building administrators to find ways to increase student achievement and provide our staff additional time as well. The calendar that we are working towards have three major impacts. The first impact will be teacher work hours and work days. The second major impact will be student instructional days, and that's going to be a change there as well. And we'll be introducing a different way that we will provide professional learning with some virtual instruction days as well for our students. We know that going back to that first opportunity, teacher work hours in the Brown Deer School District, for a few years now, we've worked an 8.5-hour workday with an unpaid lunch. That has presented some challenges for our staff, and we wanted to make sure that we honor that conversation while still moving forward with possible increases in our work days. So in the new calendar, what you will see, and I won't be able to go through every additional detail on the calendar that you see in front of you, but what I will do is give you some highlights. And so as it stands, our teachers will have 188 days of calendar days of work time now, but it'll be an 8-hour workday with a paid lunch. And that's typical for most school environments that are around us. The second major impact that we'll have, and so again, we'll be making sure that our teachers won't have that 8.5-hour day with an unpaid lunch. It'll be an 8-hour day with a paid lunch, since we will be increasing some of our work days here in the district. We also know that in the Brown Deer School District for a few years now, or many years now, we've had a fewest amount of instructional days for our students. And although we've always met our instructional minutes, we do see this as an opportunity for us to kind of revisit our student achievement conversation by looking at how we provide instructional days for our students. So the student instructional days will increase from 163 days to 173 days. And overall, how will we do that? Well, in the previous school year, when we have our professional learning days, those professional learning days were specifically geared to just the teachers, and it was a no school attendance for our students. Now that we know that we've made a lot of different changes in our virtual instruction platform, those virtual days, those instructional days that are PL days will also be virtual instruction days for our students. So our teachers will still provide a virtual lesson for our students to participate in which we will be able to count instructional minutes for our students. That's the major change. That's one of the major changes that we'll make for our students. Additionally, we've made some changes to, now we didn't take all of our, let me just share this. We didn't take all of our professional learning days and say that those will be virtual instruction days. we pretty much definitely gave our students back the September opportunity. Of course, school is not there, but October is our first opportunity for, well, you'll see, give me 1 second, make sure I got the right. So September is our first opportunity for our professional learning. And in that will be a professional learning day for our teachers, but it will be no virtual instruction for our students. So we're giving them back that first professional learning day to be similar to what we are currently working towards. The next opportunity that will happen for our teachers, for our students, will be that opportunity in January, where you will see again on January 27th of next year, 2023, it'll be a PL day for our teachers, but it will not be it'll be a no school attendance day for our students. We also made some changes to our our professional learning and virtual professional learning days as well. So now teachers, traditionally we had all our teachers come, and we, of course, on professional learning days, gave a wide swath of different opportunities for our teachers. We will try to give them back more time during that professional learning day, meaning that we will use some of that time to really hone in on our professional learning communities. So if there are opportunities for professional learning on that day in the morning, but it probably won't be for all day, kind of how we have it right now. The professional learning does extend through the entire school day. Now, there's always opportunities for us to get better at our professional learning opportunities. And this is a way in which we can keep rolling back some of the learning that we're doing right now around our professional learning communities, professional learning this year. Additionally, we have opportunities for our calendar to look a little different in December. Now, as you can tell here, traditionally, we've always in Brown Deer School District have had 2 full weeks of vacation time for the holiday period. With this new calendar, we will have school on the 19th and the 20th, and then the vacation time will start on the 21st and go through the 2nd. Now, one could say we don't have that full 2 weeks anymore, but we have 9 days of that time. By just making these short, small changes, that was able to, again, give us additional days for student attendance. And of course, we hoping that these days also additional days will lead to more student achievement. Mr. Klimick will also share with us the change that we made for the back end of the year, which is pretty much geared toward our Memorial Day. Mr. Klimick, can you help me with that, please?
Sure. One of the comments that came through is that kind of a couple of years ago, we shifted high school graduation to Memorial Day weekend, and I think some people liked it and some people didn't, but we have opted to move forward and to bring graduation back into June. And because we're adding a couple of days to the end of the year, so the actual last day of school would be Tuesday, June 6th. So having graduation that weekend before makes sense. And then we're also providing a couple more professional learning days right at the end. Part of that goal is to help teachers kind of finish up their classrooms for the year, but it's also an opportunity for them to prepare for some professional development that may be asked of them over the summer, or opportunities for them to start thinking about what they're going to be doing for the next school year. So we've added a couple of days there where, again, more opportunities for more time and more opportunities for staff. So there's been a lot of back and forth in the calendar just to make sure we're kind of hitting all those things. But the goal really is to try to bring us a little more in line with our neighbors in regards to both teacher workday, teacher contract year, and student contact days. And we think this calendar makes a nice step in that direction.
And so as we continue to have these conversations, both on the local level, we also believe that just sharing this with our community just a little ahead of time as it pertains to what we're thinking is also beneficial for our planning for our families. And with that being said, that's a snapshot of our calendar. We do look to bring this back to the board for approval at our next regular board meeting on March the 22nd. Dr. Beadle?
All right, board members, do you have any questions in relationship to the calendar before final approval, be at our subsequent meetings or whatever? But any questions you have right now that may be beneficial to Dr. Garrison and to Mr. Klimick? relation to the calendar?
I have
Yes,
a
Ms.
question.
Smith, go ahead.
I'm just wondering how, specifically with these virtual instruction days, are you envisioning modules similar to the Wednesday where they would be taped lessons?
So what we have done since the experience COVID-19, we've been real strong at making sure that we are very up to date as it pertains to our Google Classrooms and making sure that our parents and teachers know that's what we can get our virtual instruction and both learning information. That is our goal, to have more learning modules or virtual modules. But again, there will be activities and learning opportunities for our students. Always think about it two different ways. I do, you do, we do, right? And some things that our students are definitely capable of doing on their own with a clear lesson plan of what they're supposed to be doing through that virtual learning experience. And so there may be some videos, there may be some opportunities for them to dive into the lessons that are previously taught anyway in the classroom. And then of course, bring back that learning on the following day. In this case, most of our virtual learning days are on Fridays, so that learning will come back in some form on the following week, on that Monday.
Okay, right, but the question, thank you for that. Now, is this going to be similar to what was done just with modules where there would be no teacher contact? Maybe I wasn't clear.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still virtual learning.
So
Again,
we're
it could be.
But no virtual learning with like no teacher
No.
engagement, no actual instruction on those
No.
days. It's more practice.
It's more practice, of course, opportunities for our students to re-engage in that virtual learning platform. That's the one thing that I do believe that we've gotten real strong at, our students being able to access learning through virtually, whether it's from a teacher teaching from a video or from a platform opportunity through Nearpod. I believe our students have gained some learning opportunities differently through this pandemic opportunity we've been able to kind of navigate over these past 2 years. And so it won't be any live instruction, but there will be opportunities for video lessons that students can engage in.
Okay, so no, just with regard to the instructional cycle, no instruction, it's more practice. And the students, and it's just a few times a year, but I'm wondering how we can count that as in our days in our days for instruction, if there's no.
Right now, as it stands, virtual instruction, you can count whether there's a teacher
Instructor or not.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that COVID again has, and I know I'm looking over here with the cameras here, my apologies, because you're in the room, hey.
No. I understand. This looks
yeah.
like this was well thought out. It's just that some of the, when we were, just in what I'm in talking with people, when we were virtual, that was a day that, parents were like, okay, it's the Wednesday day. It's a gimme. So I would want to, and I know that we've learned a lot from being in the pandemic, but I really want to make, I shouldn't say make sure, I really want to be confident that these lessons are a continuation of what they're learning in class, and they're not just Nearpod or teacher comes on really quickly and says, do A to Z for half an hour and then you're done. But I think now we've learned a lot from that, and we'll make sure that it is a continuation of the learning, and that it makes sense within the curriculum, and it's not just, let me just get these videos out. So I don't know how you're going to, how the administrators will task the teachers with making sure that these videos are really worth the time that will be spent on them.
The videos that some of our teachers have already pre-made to certain lessons as well. We have to remember that we have a scope and sequence, and every year there's a new class, right? And although there's a new class, there could be some of the same materials, and so some videos could already be made. Yes, our students could actually go in and look at the class, look at the information based off of where they are in their curriculum. I think you're right. We will have to lay out, additional expectations for that day of learning. But again, the virtual learning is not new to us at this point anymore.
No, it is not.
And so we will have to, again, just reiterate that as much as we will want to think that we will not have to go virtual ever again, the whole school shut down, we have to be prepared for it. And by allowing our students this opportunity to still stay engaged virtually this way, keeps us one step ahead of the game.
Right, which is a good place to be. I just want to make sure that that we continue to upgrade at the quality of what it is. And it looks like that's what you're heading for. So very good. Thank you.
I just want to I also want to caution everyone, again, when we went virtual the first time, that was virtual learning 2.0. I mean, sorry, 7.0. But we had a live teacher in front of a screen with hundreds of students on screens. That virtual instruction was done because we needed to make sure our students were still having learning impact over time. When we came back to school this year, we really started making some shifts. I say some shifts where we had opportunities for students to go and do some learning and some opportunities for them to lean in on some video opportunities. Now going into this third phase of this conversation, that's going to be a mix of both. But the one thing that I can say, I do believe our students are more well equipped to have these conversations and that we're going into our third year.
All right, any further questions? All right, thank you very much, Dr. Garrison, you and Mr. Clement for putting together that calendar. And we'll look forward to seeing the finished product. All right, let's go on to our next item is our engaged board and community to lead our 2022-2023 board calendar for review. Board members, I know you've got an opportunity to look at the board calendar. I think the only major significant change is that in December, we will have meetings, our board meetings will be back to back on the, let me see, December.
The 6th and the 13th.
6th and the 13th. And the reason for that is if we did the meeting on the 20th, they're actually, school actually goes out 2 days after. So it was just easier for us to be able to do it that way, to have both of those board meetings back to back, and for us to be able to enjoy as a board, be able to enjoy the holiday season a little bit more.
Yeah, that's not new.
Yeah,
So.
Again. All right. Any questions in relationship to it? All right.
Dr. Beadle?
Yes, Ms. Peterson.
I'm sorry. I don't think you saw my hand, but I just wanted to point out underneath the important dates, I think the high school graduation should be June 3rd and not.
No, that's 20, but that's 23. That's for the following year, Ms. Peterson.
Right.
Right. So our graduation for this year is going to be June 3rd of 2022. If you look at our calendar, our board calendar, that is for May 27th, I believe, 2023.
But I thought they were changing the graduation.
They're both on there, Dr. Beadle. The 2022 and 2023 graduations are both.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, okay. Well,
We'll
she was saying the 2023.
23.
Okay.
Mhm.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Dr. Beadle, did you have a concern about the August 5th date regarding the summer board retreat? Is that something you also wanted to discuss?
Yeah, I think that was it too. Hold on, let me see. Let me pull it back up again.
Is it Friday?
It's a Friday, yes.
Okay, so generally, okay, so when we had the meeting for the August 5th, right? Because, before the following week, we'd have a board meeting, then we'd be off and then another board meeting. What I didn't want to have happen is like what happened this time. So we had a board meeting and then you would turn around in that alternate week, we'd have a meeting and then we'd go out and have another meeting. So I just wanted to be able to make sure that we had at least a week in between both and being able to do that. Rather than being like the 9th, we have a meeting and then we would turn around and do our board retreat on the 12th. Or do the board retreat on the 19th and then have our regular meeting on the 23rd. So at least this way we'd have a week clear of not having to deal with board business. Now, again, all of this is up for discussion. If you guys would, if you would want to have like the board retreat August the 12th, have a board meeting the 9th and then have that on the 12th. And then come back on the 23rd, or however you want to do it. I just thought that people would like it a little bit more to be able to have a straight week off especially because we're getting ready to, it's in August, everybody has family, want to be able to try to do some things possibly with your family without interruption and being able to do it that way. Discussion, again, this is all up for discussion. All right, so no questions? I can't do both of them at the same time. Any questions, board members?
So are you saying we shouldn't have it on the 5th, or is that why?
No, we're having it on we're gonna have it on the 5th.
Okay.
So we're having it on the 5th, which is a Friday, which is a little atypical because usually we have these meetings on a Saturday.
On a Saturday, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the summer one.
Not in the summertime. In the summertime, we don't. It's usually on a Friday.
They've been on Fridays, right? Exactly.
Yeah, in the summer, yeah, it's usually on Fridays.
Friday evenings?
Morning.
Morning.
Okay. That might be a little challenging for me.
Okay, I mean, we can always, I mean, we do have the option to have it on a Saturday or whatever and stuff. I just kind of felt like, you know, when people get to that, it's summertime for us as well too. So I know how people feel about this Saturdays.
So, you know, it's set out in it, you know, far enough in advance. I think I can make it work. But yeah, Friday morning. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So, and then like, then the other thing too, a lot of members that are on the board actually work for schools or have something to do with education. And most schools typically haven't started yet that first week of August. So they're still off, or there's administrative stuff kind of going on or whatever. So I was trying to think about it from that standpoint, and then also let us have our Saturday off because a lot of people are doing vacation stuff and everything else like that. So, but again, this is a draft, and if we decide and we get closer to August or whatever, and it doesn't work, because you got to remember we will have new board members that may come on board or whatever. You know, we may have to have a conversation again in relationship to the board retreat. But again, we wanted to be able to make sure that we had something in place, earmarked enough in advance for individual board members to be able to make accommodations to do that.
Okay, I just have one other question, and it really is out of curiosity in terms of there are 2 months on this calendar where it's highlighted red. Is there any significance to that, or is it just?
No, that was just, it was just an indicator for Lita, just a reminder that those are the 2 months that were in question that Dr. Lita wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And it was the December and it was the August.
Okay. I should have figured that out. Yeah. Okay.
Dr. Vito?
Mr. Clement? Yes.
Yeah, if I may, I just wanted to point out there is one thing, I believe, I just had to double check, but we did approve the annual meeting to be held on the 29th of September. Not on the 22nd, so we may have to shift that.
29th. Okay.
So that's, it's right now it's Thursday the 22nd, but that would actually be Thursday the 29th.
Okay. All right. Donna, could you make the adjustment to that, please? Thank you. All right.
I'm sorry, I do have a question. The annual meeting, that could be shifted to a later time as well, though.
It could be, but that's what was voted for at the last annual meeting.
Yeah, we generally try to keep those right in that same time zone or time period or whatever to be able to do those and stuff because of the stuff that has to be approved. Lisa, I think you're on mute. Oh, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I was saying the annual meeting gets voted on at the annual meeting when it's going to be held next year.
Correct. That's
So
correct.
that was the date decided on this past.
Yeah, when we had the meeting in,
I mean, there is some flexibility as far as when, like, so if in this coming, what did we say the date is, September 29th or whatever you said the date was? At that meeting, you could determine a different window for
Window.
next year.
Got it.
Yeah, if needed. Yeah.
I have a question. So for the purple highlight in October, what are those dates on the 14th and 15th?
We can go back and check that. Dorothea, that might be in error
Okay.
because we don't typically, we won't do anything back to back.
I'm sorry, which
No,
one are you
ma'am.
asking about?
Yeah, I think that's an error, Dorothea. We'll go back and check it. Hence the
Okay.
reason why we said it's a draft calendar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right, we'll make those changes and we'll bring those back. All right, let's go on to our next order of business. Motion to go into closed session.
Dr. Vito, I'd like to make a motion to enter into closed session to discuss district administrator contract and to approve the September 14th, 2021, October 26th, 2021, December 7th, 2021, December 14th, 2021, and January 25th, 2022 closed session minutes pursuant to Wisconsin State Statutes 19.851C.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Peterson, the motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Dr. Vito.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Any discussion? Ms. Robinson?
We will take a roll call vote, starting with Beadle,
Aye.
Daniels Ashley,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Robinson, I, Smith,
Aye.
Zick,
Aye.
and Zelinski.
I
All right, thank you very much. We will now go into closed session at 7:06 p.m.
Say goodbye.
All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. For those that are in attendance with us, thank you for taking the time out to be with us. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay safe, and we will see you soon.